So my husband and I, Darren, were sitting and having a cocktail and catching up on life a couple weeks ago. And we were chatting about friends and the latest. And we got talking about some of the couples that we know that have gotten or are getting a divorce. And Darren jokingly said to me, "Well, you'd never leave me, would you?" And kind of chuckled. And my answer shocked him because I said, "Yeah, actually, I would." Welcome to the Kick-Ass Stepmom podcast. I'm Jamie Scrimger, wife, mom, stepmom, life coach, conversation opener, and BS caller. 7 years ago, I found myself sitting on the bathroom floor with a glass of wine, bawling my eyes out, wondering what the heck I was thinking, marrying a man with 3 kids and an ex-wife. Don't get me wrong, I was madly in love, the kids were great, but as a 26-year-old with zero experience in the parenting department, I was in over my head. When I went to the internet for support, I was disappointed with what I found. So I decided to create the type of support that I was looking for. Raw and real conversations about all things motherhood, stepmotherhood, and living a kick-ass life. Life can be hard, really freaking hard. But each week I'll bring you tips and strategies and mindset shifts to help you thrive amongst the tough stuff in life. My goal is to inspire you to live your version of a kick-ass life. I'll bring you along as I create my own. Let's do this. You should have seen the look on his face. I said, I'm joking around, but also I'm not. And then we got into this really good conversation about marriage. And I basically said, if this marriage is no longer healthy, if it didn't feel like there was a mutual respect or a partnership or that we were still growing together, I would consider my options. I got into this partnership under those terms. That's what our agreement really was. And I would never sacrifice my life or what I want for my life or how I want to feel in my life just because I am married to someone. Again, marriage is an agreement and a commitment, but first and foremost, my commitment is to myself. And I bet there's a lot of people listening to this being like, whoa, I did not see that coming. I didn't think that you would say that. And Darren didn't see it coming either. But I think this is a really important conversation to have and something that I've been thinking a lot about lately. I have been thinking about marriage and divorce and the purpose of life and what people truly deserve to have. So that's why I decided to do this solo podcast episode and just kind of share a little bit of my thoughts with you guys. So I did have to clarify and say to Darren that I do not feel that way now, nor do I anticipate feeling that way. But if I did, I would probably be out. So let's dive into this more. I believe that marriage is hard work. You go through seasons based on the ebbs and flows and happenings in life. Like it's not always going to be good. You are not always going to be in sync and aligned, and all areas of your partnership aren't going to be great either. So for example, in the last, I think it's like a year, maybe year and a half, Darren and I have been really great in the partnership of running our family and tackling business ventures. And, COVID has been challenging. Reese has been out of school and with us 100% of the time. We purchased a rental property and that we had to put together in a major time crunch. And there were a lot of moving parts with that, especially during COVID. We have had co-parenting breakdowns and extra challenges there. And there's been a lot on the go. And we have tackled all of this very well as a team. I'd say in the operations department of our marriage, things are running really smoothly, probably better than ever. Now, in the passion and romance and intimacy department, I'd say not so much. We are freaking tired. And Reese has been sleeping with us. She has some sleep issues, which has led to her being in our bed and on the floor most nights. Sidebar, please do not send me sleep tips or your opinion on co-sleeping. You be the expert on your family. I'll be the expert on mine. I just want to kind of throw that out there because I typically do get those emails. Here's the thing. This girl cried for like 5 hours straight. Last time we tried to get her to sleep in her own room, like 5 hours straight. It looked like a scene from one of the Exorcist movies. So there's definitely some stuff going on there. And we're doing things our way and what feels right for us. But in doing that, we are incredibly tired, a little bit overwhelmed, and have had very little alone time. And then due to lockdown in Ontario, until recently, we couldn't even go out for dinner alone. So there's been lots going on. And, because there's been so much going on, we've also had some blips in communication department. Like Darren made a pretty big decision without giving me a heads up. He didn't think it was a big deal. He thought he should just take care of it. and that I would be fine. And I was kind of like, what in the actual? So in one department, things were really good. And then in a couple other departments, they weren't running as smoothly as they should or as we would want them to be. But that's marriage. And we've had to have some really open and honest conversations and hear each other out and plan how we're going to do better. And that is really, really important, right? You can't just be like, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel respected. I'm out. That's not what I'm saying. So in these conversations, we have said, like, what do you need from me? Here's what I need from you. Like, how can we do things better? Like, where do we need to go back to the drawing table on how we run things? We've also had more conversations about how we can make more time to connect as romantic partners, but not business and life partners, if that makes sense. So here's the thing, marriage is a constant work in progress, but both parties need to be willing to do the work. Both parties need to respect each other, even when they don't fully understand the other person's perspective, to grow together, support each other, to do life together, even when things feel really freaking hard. There are things that I think are important in life and in marriage, or that piss me right off, that Darren doesn't fully agree with. And the same goes for him. And we have to respect those differences and those needs, even if we don't fully agree with them, because that's how our partner feels. I often talk about this in my membership, but I'll say, when you're talking to your partner, you can say, I don't need you to agree with how I'm feeling. I just need you to respect that this is how I'm experiencing things right now. And that's a huge game changer. When you start to adopt that in your marriage, it can really change the way that you communicate and the way you support each other. Now, if it felt like I was not in a partnership like that we could work together to move forward, or, not feeling respected, I would consider leaving the marriage, because you only get one life. You only get one life, and you should feel respected and fulfilled and supported and in a partnership that brings out the best in you. Not to stay because you should, because you feel like you should, or that's what people expect of you. So society expects of you. Now, I read or I heard something, I don't even remember where it was, about how society glorifies and celebrates long relationships. Like if someone's married for 50 or 60 years, everyone celebrates and talks about how amazing it is that they spent that long together and that's how long they've been married. And that's amazing if they were happy and fulfilled. But if they were miserable the whole freaking time, I think that's a really sad existence. Like I cannot imagine waking up next to someone every day who I didn't want to do life with. So all of these things are something that you need to work towards, and something that's really, really hard. Therapy, personal development, improving communication, active listening, flexibility, compromise, empathy, looking at the big picture, playing the long game. I added compromise on this list twice, but I think, there's a lot of compromise that needs to happen. So I'm going to say it again. And this is actually really interesting for me to say out loud, because for the longest time I was like, marriage is a commitment. It's forever and you need to work at it. Like, don't get divorced. I didn't really believe in divorce. And you do. You need to continue to work at it. But two people have to be willing to do that work. And I think that this belief that I had came from my parents getting divorced as a kid. And for the longest time, I was pissed off and resentful for my parents for getting a divorce. But as an adult, I see it differently and I understand what happened. Now I know that what I was actually upset about wasn't the divorce, but how my parents showed up and supported or didn't support after. I think that's what's really important to understand too. You can raise well-adjusted, emotionally mature, secure children post-divorce. A lot of people fear what divorce will do to kids, but I don't think it's the divorce itself that makes that impact. I think it's how you go about it and the type of parenting and co-parenting relationship and the way you support your kids afterwards. I think that what's really important is that we raise kids to know that they deserve to be honored, respected, fulfilled, and to grow together. That's what a partnership is about. Everyone deserves true love and happiness. Everyone deserves to be respected. And if you don't like how life is going, you can press reset. Everything is a choice. Now, there is a caveat to this, and I do think it's important to say, I believe that there's a lot of people who leave marriages without really thinking about the long game and putting in the work. You need to understand there are hard seasons. There's going to be really hard seasons. There are going to be times when your husband or your partner drives you freaking crazy. It's like even the way they chew their Miss Vicky's chips like triggers you. I don't think you should leave a marriage though without going through these seasons and seeing them through, because there are these really, really tough seasons. And by the way, I'm not saying you should leave your marriage because you don't like the way your partner chews chips. I just use that as an example because we always talk about how loud we chomp chips in our family. But I just wanted to share all this with you guys. I'm not leaving Darren. I just thought this was a really interesting conversation to share and what I think that marriage really is about. And I think that, we all need to remember what we deserve and how we deserve to feel in life. And everyone deserves to feel like they matter and like they're respected and like they're a priority. Anyways, that's my rant about marriage and divorces. Maybe you got something out of this. Maybe you didn't. Either way, thank you so much for listening. You know the drill. Subscribe, rate, review, share with a friend. Love to know your thoughts over on my Instagram at Jamie Scrimgeour. We also have an Instagram page at Kick-Ass Stepmom Podcast where you can stay updated on all of the latest podcast episodes. And yeah, thank you so much. All of the things that you do to support this podcast helps us grow, helps me continue to do what I do and bring you guys these conversations. So I guess we'll chat soon. That's it for this one, guys. I am so happy that you took time to join and have these important conversations. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so that you get updated when new episodes are released. And if you are craving more and you're looking for personalized support and connection, be sure to check out the exclusive Stepmom community. Not only can you get individualized support from me in the Ask Jamie section of the forum, but you can connect with stepmoms from 30 plus countries around the world and have access to content that I don't share anywhere else. www.jamiescrimgeour.com/membership. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll chat with you next week.